Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. I'm so excited to be sharing with you today one of the most amazing people I think I've ever met in my entire life, and that is Mr. Todd Phillips. And so this is Courtney. Obviously, you know who I am. Todd, thank you so much for joining us today.
You got it. Thanks for having me. This is a real privilege. I can't wait to hang out with you.
I know. So me and Todd actually met for the first time, actually in person last Monday in Dallas, Texas, and I think we're truly going to change the world together. And
That's right.
I'm, yes, I'm so excited about it. So, Todd, why don't you share with everyone? And I am saying well in
Yes.
WELL, not well WHALE. So people get confused. I want you to just share with them why you got involved, a little bit about your background, and what you guys are doing with the last well.
Thank you. And just so you know, while I'm walking around, I just almost ran out of power on my phone, so I'm making sure that I don't go south on you. All right. So the last well. First of all, thank you, Courtney, for letting me spend time with your audience and talk about a passion that I have in my life. I mean, this thing I want to share is just something I live and breathe. I wake up every morning and go to bed every night and very honestly dream about the work that we're doing with the Last Well. The Last Well is a organization that started by a group of young adults, actually a church in the Washington D.C. area that was focused on reaching young people in their middle 20s. So we actually had college students from about 18 years old to about 30, and the average age of the church was 27. We would do a survey every year, and it was just a really incredible thing to be involved with. I was in my late 30s when I got there. I was there for 7 years, from 2004 to 2011. And in that 7 year time frame, really got to spend time with these young adults, and they really had a passion to change the world. And it was interesting. In 2008, early 09, a movie came out in the theaters called Amazing Grace. And Amazing Grace was about a man that people listening to this or watching this now may know about, William Wilberforce. He was actually credited with ending slavery in the UK a few hundred years back, and he wanted to actually be a priest. And as the movie goes on, it speaks about him moving into Parliament and using this political prowess that he had and his passion to end the slave trade in the UK. He spent 40 years of his life fighting this battle, and eventually the gavel goes down in the Parliament in UK. The slave trade is made illegal. And near the end of the movie, as you watch the life of Wilberforce, and 72 hours after the gavel goes down and slavery is illegal in the UK, he dies.
Hmm.
So he literally gave up his entire life, certainly 4 decades of it, to end the slave trade. And when this movie came out, the young adults that were coming to the church, it was a very strange thing to watch. We had about 4,000 of them that attended on a weekly basis, and I had the privilege of teaching them and being the pastor of that congregation for that 7 years. I'm convinced every one of those 4,000 young adults saw this movie in about a 2 week time frame. And it was just so powerful to watch how their hearts were moved, and almost in unison, in mass, these young adults were coming to me saying, Pastor Todd, why can't we end something in our generation like Wilberforce did? How come we have to look back 200 years and watch movies about the lives of these men and women that have changed the world? Why can't we see that happen in our time? And so, bottom line is, we got together with our leadership, with our church. We got together with a bunch of our key volunteers and these passionate young adults, and just spent a couple months asking the question, number one, what's the most challenging place in the world that no one wants to go to? These young adults wanted to reach the most difficult place on the globe. So what's the most challenging place in the world, and what's the greatest need, physical need, that we can find in that place to fix or to change or to eradicate or to end? And then from our perspective, we were a church, so we wanted to share the Christian message with the people that we helped. And so out of that came this mission to bring clean water to this little country in West Africa called Liberia. And most people don't have any clue where Liberia is. In fact, I didn't know until I started studying more about this. But this little country in West Africa called Liberia was the second poorest country in the world. The CIA keeps a misery index on the countries around the world, and Liberia was the #2 second most miserable place to live in the world. And a subsidiary of USA Today named it the most corrupt country in the world back in 2008. So as we were looking at this and building this mission, we realized Liberia was going to be the place we were going. We couldn't find a more challenging place than that. Half the country were children. Half the country's population is children under the age of 15. It's just astonishing. So these young adults wanted to go to Liberia. We realized very quickly 100 people a day were dying from waterborne disease. They just didn't have clean water, a totally preventable issue. And 100 people a day, 4 people every hour, 1 person every 15 minutes in this country was dying from a completely preventable issue, just lack of clean water. And so we created this mission to bring clean water and the Christian message to all of Liberia, to an entire country, border to border, for the first time in human history. These young adults wanted to make history, and for them, they wanted to give credit to this God that they serve, this through this Christian message we wanted to share. And so that's really how it started. So that was back in 2009. And over the last 11 and a half years, we've been working at this. The end date was December 31st, 2020. When this started, these young adults had an end date in mind because they wanted to have their own Wilberforce moment. That's what they started calling it. So their Wilberforce moment was going to be ending the water crisis in Liberia by December 31st of 2020. So we're 11 and a half years into this mission. And we're sitting here in May of 2020 with less than 8 months left to go in the middle of a pandemic, a global pandemic, with challenges all around. And we can see the finish line. You know, we've the teams are in place. We connected the water with the Christian message and church planting groups and people that present that Christian message. All of our teams are in place. We're ready to go. We're doing an average of 1 village. We're reaching 1 village with clean water and the Christian message every 2 hours, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year right now. And as long as we get the funding in the next 6 to 8 weeks, we will finish this 12-year goal by December 31st of 2020. And Liberia will be the first developing nation with universal access to clean water and arguably the nation most saturated with the Christian message around the world.
Wow. That's so amazing.
I'm kind of excited when I talk about this.
That is so exciting. And so tell everyone kind of what we are looking at, what you need to finish out this goal and how much you've actually raised, which is insane and amazing all in itself.
Well, thanks for asking that. It's been a pretty amazing thing to watch. These young adults and myself, all of us together at this church up in DC had absolutely no idea exactly how much this would cost or what it would cost us in time, effort, energy, prayer, sacrifice, our finances, etc. When it's all said and done, when we get done with this in December, and it will happen, the teams are in place and we're going to see this through, and in large part because of people like you that are helping us share the story with so many people around the world. But it's a $31 million project. So 12-year, $31 million national border-to-border project, and we're now $578,000 away from finishing the funding.
Wow.
So we've raised over 30.5 million.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's been crazy. When we started, we were. I remember our first fundraising effort. I took 9 people from the church. It just turned out being all guys. It was 10 of us to go climb a mountain that was the highest peak in Russia or in Europe. It was called Mount Elbrus. It's one of the 7 summits, the highest peaks on each of the 7 continents around the world. And we did that to go raise awareness. So we had these 10 guys who all paid their own way and then used that to raise awareness and money by going and climbing this mountain and creating a really cool story. And that first fundraising effort was we raised $250,000 of that $31 million project. That was back in 2009. And ever since then, we just continued to plug away doing things like this and sharing this message, because I really believe in the midst of the crisis we're dealing with the pandemic, Courtney, with the political division in this world, the religious divides in this world, that we need a story of hope and we need a story of completion. We need to cross a finish line together. We need to have something that we can really tie on together and be one with. Just like when Neil Armstrong put the first man on the moon, Neil Armstrong's foot came down on the powder of the moon and the whole world rejoiced. That's the kind of moment we need right now for the world. And that's what this is.
I love it. And, I just met actually a couple years ago, a friend of mine, Corey Richards, one of my dear friends. He tried to share with me what was going on with the last whale. And I was, I was engulfed in my mission, which is to provide food for children in need, provide nutrition to children in need all over the world. And I really didn't think big enough to say, okay, well, I can give to numerous foundations, because here's the thing, like every child, every man and woman and child in this world should have safe drinking water.
Right.
They should have food on their table. They should not be scared. Another nonprofit that we give to is Operation Underground Railroad, and it frees children through sex trafficking. And sadly enough, there should not be children that are scared to death that if they leave their home to go get water in Liberia, that they may not make it back. And I think that's one of the things that really got me so excited about what you guys are doing, because I was already given to Operation Underground Railroad just recently. And I had a conversation with Corey, and he told me that indirectly that by putting in these whales, it was actually decreasing sex trafficking.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, if I can jump in on this, we talk about ending the walk. It's the phrase we use quite often, because most of the people that are walking sometimes 2 hours one way to get dirty water. This is not even clean water. This is going 2 hours one way just to get water that's going to be potentially dangerous for their families. No, the people that are getting that water are women and children, and mostly daughters. It's the little girls. It's the girls under the age of 15 that are spending their entire days, every day of their life, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, going and getting dirty water for their family, bringing it home. And it's the moms and the dads that have to sit there and go, well, without any water, my child dies within days, but I could be giving them water that kills them within weeks. That's the reality of what they're dealing with every day. And further than that, it's the danger of the walk. They spend hours and hours going and getting this water, and the sex trafficking, human trafficking issue is in large part because we haven't ended the walk. We haven't kept these children in safe environments, and getting them water on premises through these wells and other provision tools ends the walk and saves lives and keeps these girls, specifically girls, out of the sex trafficking, human trafficking challenges that we're dealing with globally right now.
That's crazy. And then, we talked about last week, because I was so excited. What I have to equate is that how many lives am I impacting? And one of the things that we implemented, and those of you that know me know that we have something called a social business. And we did that out of necessity, because I wanted to help nonprofits. I wanted to feed children. I wanted to free children. I wanted to provide safe drinking water. But I also wanted it to be a tax deduction. And here's the thing, guys, if you give, instead of, okay, I'm going to give after I spend all of my money, after I buy the things that I want, and I'm going to give a certain percentage, that typically is not a tax deduction for you. But if you decide, okay, as a business owner, because charitable contributions, let me just step back. Yes, you may think you're getting a benefit from it, but as a giving from charitable contributions, 96% of Americans get no benefit. So here's what I want to do. I want to help nonprofits and teach people that if you give from a gross income level, if you're a business owner, you give from a gross income level and you share that with people, then that becomes 100% tax deductible, not as a charitable contribution that flows to your itemized deductions that you may or may not get a benefit from. What it does is it becomes a cost of goods sold item. So it's a part of your model, like Tom Shoes, like Warby Parker. And so you truly create a connection with your consumer and your giving, and you connect your passion and your profits. And man, that is life-changing. You hear me? Because I'm telling you, we started giving, and I think this is so crucial. We started giving 2 years ago, last month. And when we first gave that check, the first check, we did not have the money to give. Me and my husband, we committed. I actually committed first. And I told my husband, I'm like, we're going to do this. And he's like, Courtney, you're crazy. We're not going to give that much money. And so it was scary, but it was I said, you know what? I want to give. So, and there's never excess money, right? So, I mean, it's like when you have kids, it's like you don't make the decision when I have money, I'll have kids. It's like you have kids and then you figure out how to make the money. And so that's exactly the way I felt. So we gave enough to provide 15,000 servings of food to children in need. And we didn't have, the check was going to bounce. And the next week, the IRS sent us a check for $25,000 that we'd been waiting on for 3.5 years. And guys, I'm like, that was enough for me. It was like, okay, God, I get it, right? You just keep giving, you keep getting. The next month, guys, we didn't have the extra money because I paid off a ton of bills and we didn't have the extra money. And I gave a check anyway because I committed to doing that. I committed for every dollar that was going to come into my accounting practice, I was going to provide a serving of food. I gave that. The next week, one of our in-laws came to us and said, hey, you know what? I want to give you some money before, I don't want to wait till I die. Here's $5,000. I'm like, okay, all right, this is crazy. And so fast forward now today, we're not providing 15,000 servings a month. We're providing 9,000 servings a day to children in need. And then on top of that, we've added a couple things. We've added in for every $150 because I wanted to be able to equate it to how many people am I impacting. Mm-hmm. So it is $4, guys. This is crazy. I asked Todd last week. I said, how much? I need to break it down per person. How much can I provide safe drinking water to a person for? And he said for $4.58. And we can provide that for how long?
Oh, well, the provision is actually unbelievable. That $4.58 will provide water for one person in Liberia for somewhere between 10 and 15 years. That's
crazy. That's crazy. I mean, like, why isn't everybody given their $4.58? Like, we could end this today. We could wipe out, put all the wells in, $4.50 for 58 cents per person can provide safe drinking water for the next 10 to 15 years. So I've committed that for every $150 that we bring into our accounting practice, we're going to provide the $4.58. And so that's what I'm here today is to share with you. One, giving changes everything. It really does. And if you don't have the money to give, that's probably why you need to give, and what Todd is doing now, he has created the last well, the whole entire organization has created a mapping system for people in Liberia. They know where every school is. They know where every church is. They know where every village is. They know where every well is. And guess what? Now we can go in and provide nutrition. Now we can go in and find orphanages that are not really orphanages. They're more like sex trafficking rings. And what they have done has created a system that to create massive, massive change. And, I'm so grateful to be a part, just a little bitty part of what you guys are doing. And it's my job to create awareness for what these amazing nonprofits are doing. Because, guys, there's some crazy stuff going on with nonprofits in the world. But I have done my due diligence on Todd Phillips and the Last Well, and I'm so super excited to be partnering with him and the Last Well to help them get to the next level. So, I want Todd share what your thoughts are, as far as what this has done, not only for you, but also for the people who are involved. Share what that's like over the last 11.5 years.
Yeah, Courtney, if I can put my pastor hat on for a minute, right? I do all my work internationally now with Liberia, but my passion is equal parts wanting to transform the world with the Christian message through the provision of clean water, not just in Liberia, but taking this system we've built now, right, and reaching more countries, more nations, more people, more children, and giving them a hope and a future. But equal parts that and transforming the lives of the people here in the States and around the world that are in developed countries who have the financial wherewithal to contribute to these kinds of models of provision and humanitarian aid and effort, like Underground Railroad, like Lastwell, like anything else that they might be, any other organization that might be out there that they're trying to help with right now. There's all sorts of opportunity. It's the people that give whose lives are changed. It's people like you, Courtney, who begin to give in faith and realize that they can't outgive God, and that God continues to pour out and overflow. And I want to be careful how I say this, because when I talk to people about giving, whether they're giving their time, it doesn't mean that they're going to multiply their own time. And if they give their money, it doesn't mean necessarily they're going to multiply the finances. If they give of their, whatever that talent is, it doesn't mean that that talent necessarily be multiplied. I see a lot of people who give money and God blesses them with unspeakable joy, and it has nothing to do with the bank account, right? But very often I see things happen like you, Courtney. I just want to be, that caveat aside, very often what I see is people who begin to give of their time, talent, and treasure. If it's their treasure, they begin to see God pouring into them, because God knows that they're acting in many ways, Courtney, and I use this term all the time, but they're acting as God's CPA, right? God's accountant. He's trusting Courtney, not just you as your profession as an accountant, but he's trusting you as one of his accountants, somebody who's accounting for the funds he's giving you, knowing that you're going to pour that out and benefit the world and give him the credit. And he's all about that. That's what he's all about. He wants to give himself the glory for this incredible, the grandeur of what he's wanting to do around the world through the hands and feet and the mouths of people like you, the hands and feet and mouth of people like me, who are going out there to change the world and give him the credit. So, I could tell you story after story after story of people who have either been in financial straits, not doing well, or people who are already brilliantly wealthy and yet had never given a dime, and then reached out either through their challenges or through their abundance, just reached out in faith, trusted God with their funds to go and give and pour out, expecting nothing in return, and God has just poured into them to overflowing. I tell people all the time, look, if you'll begin to just pour out to others, and I'm not just talking about money, time, talent, everything that you are, if you begin to pour out, God will pour into you to overflowing so that you can pour out to others. And it will allow you to live your life pouring yourself out, who you are, what you own, what you possess, what talents you are, pouring yourself out indiscriminately on people around you, knowing that God will continue to pour into you as a river of blessing to people. And that's the kind of abundant life. That's the kind of passion-filled, purpose-driven life that people are supposed to live. But sadly enough, we don't live that way in large part. And we watch movies about guys like Wilberforce. Courtney, you are a Wilberforce. I want to be a Wilberforce. I want the people watching this to be their own Wilberforces in this generation. Pour out, pour out, pour out, expecting nothing in return, knowing that God will pour into you. And that's the life we're supposed to live. It's not just keeping our head above water. It's about living with abundance.
Yes.
Right? And passion and vibrancy and expectation of God.
Man, I'm even more excited. I'm probably have to go work for the rest of the night, because, and that's the thing, is it's so crazy to me, and there comes a time, I know people are struggling right now, and please understand, we know that, but the thing is that we were struggling too at one point. And I think the fact of just giving, and it could be time, it could be effort. I've had so many people just reach out to me and say, hey, what can I do as far as provide and give to these nonprofits? And I'm like, what? I don't know. The only thing I do is give them money. I don't have a lot of time, but what I'm doing is I'm focused on making money, not to make money. I want to provide a legacy for my family, but I also want to provide and help people and change their life and teach other people how to do exactly the same thing. Because, see, guys, the sad part is that 46% of Americans before this pandemic did not have an extra $400 to their name. And there are people struggling all over this entire country, but we don't even realize how good we have it in this country, in the United States. Todd did a video and I watched it, and I will share it with you guys after we get off of here. I just want you to see it. And it's a video that he did with his children, getting up from the table and walking, his two girls walking 2 miles to go get water that, nasty water, and then walk backwards and walk back home. And, it just was so eye-opening for me that, gosh, we don't realize how great we truly have it and how many people are truly suffering today. And a small amount of money that could completely and utterly change somebody's life forever. It could change their history of their family tree. And I think that's what we're all about, is how we can help change the world. And when you start focusing on everyone else and how you can help them, I'm not saying give away every dime that you have. I'm not a nonprofit. I am in this world to make money. But here's what I will tell you is that when you start focusing on helping other people, everything starts coming into play. And then on top of that, when your focus is not about how much money can I make today so I can have stuff, it's about, I literally wake up every day to look at my email from QuickBooks, because, everything I do is in QuickBooks. I'm an accountant, to see how many children I fed, to see how many children we've freed from sex trafficking, and to see how many children or, people at this point that we've been able to provide safe drinking water for. And that is a different mindset. So it doesn't matter if I have a bad day. It doesn't matter if I'm sick. It doesn't matter if, a client upsets me. It doesn't matter. What matters is I am put on this earth to change the world. And I truly believe that. I was put here to free up money. That's what I do. That's what I do really, really well. And by doing that, I'm able to help people give more, live more, right? And then I can then feed more, I can free more, and then we provide this safe drinking water. So, I'm super committed to everything that you guys have going on. I'm going to make it my effort, right, between now and the next 8 weeks to do everything I can to help you guys meet your mission of getting the extra $578,000 that it's going to take to get there. And guys, we want your help.
Yeah, well, two things I wanted to say to the people watching this. Number one is going back to the idea that some of us are really in some very financially challenging situations. Many people have lost their jobs. There's all sorts of things going on, and everybody's in a different circumstance. But I will tell you this, regardless of what it is, and this is not about the last well, so just forget the last well for a minute. Just, again, with my pastor hat on for a minute, I can't help but do this. But when you're going through challenge and crisis, that's exactly when you should give. And I'm not just talking about money. Let's say you don't have money, give some time. But if, let's say, all you have is $1 in your wallet right now, and it's like, I can give $1, but what's that really worth? Well, the Underground Railroad, it's worth a lot.
Yes.
Right. How many children can be fed with $1?
You can provide food for a month for a child for $2.
Yeah, there you go. So forget the $4.58 for the water for just a minute. I'm just doing this to express the sincerity. Forget us. Underground Railroad, the provision of food and nutrition for a month for $1. Come on, this is the way you can be involved. Anytime there's a challenge, anytime you're going through crisis, that's some of the best times to trust God and to give something. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be 10 cents, $1, $5. It doesn't make any difference. Just give. Number two, if you're watching this and you're listening to Courtney and talking, I'm working, but I would love to start a small business so I could give more. I would love to get involved and understand my finances so that I could give, less to Uncle Sam that I don't want to do and more to the organizations, whether it's these three that Courtney believes in or something you believe in. Courtney has a system in place that allows you to really do very, very make minor shifts in the way that you're doing things you're already doing, and allows you not only save money and help your own family, your own situation out, but also to change the world. And we're in a time right now where malnutrition, waterborne disease and malnutrition can be eradicated globally in a very short amount of time. That's no other generation's been able to say that, and yet today that can happen. We've got the water side of it. There's others that are, and other organizations doing water. There's others that are doing nutrition and dealing with malnutrition and global hunger and poverty issues. There's others that are dealing through Underground Railroad with human trafficking. There's a way that we can fundamentally alter the fabric of our societies globally right now and eradicate these issues that are completely preventable by making minor changes in what we're already doing. And Courtney helps businesses and helps individuals to do that. And there's not what's amazing about what Courtney does is I don't know, Courtney, if there's a human being over the age of 16 who's working that can't benefit from what you're offering. And I think that's what's really cool, right? Everyone wins with what you're doing, Courtney.
Yes.
And I just want to encourage people to get in touch with you about that, regardless of where they give. So
I love it. And you're so right. So we free up money so people can have a better life, and then they can give more. And then guess what? When you give more, you have more. I mean, it's crazy. And it's unfathomable. But, the last story I'll share with you as far as giving is that February 29th, with Tony Robbins' birthday, I got introduced to Operation Underground Railroad and what they were doing. And we decided, me and my daughter, we were in LA, and we decided to give 25 grand, and we committed to giving 50 grand. And so I was so passionate about what they were doing. And, I was scared. That was scary for me. That was probably, I don't think I've ever given anybody any amount of money that's over 25 grand, other than maybe for my down payment on my house. And, I came home and I told my husband, I'm like, we're going to get it back. I know we're going to get it back. God's going to give it back. I just have to tell you that was on a Saturday. I flew home on a Sunday, and on Monday we had $28,000 deposited in our bank account for accounting services. It's like God gave it. It's like God said, okay, well, you entrust me with this 25 grand. I'm going to just give it right back to you plus interest. So, how can, it's not everybody's going to give that kind of money, guys. And that's not what I'm saying. You could provide money for a village. You could provide money for one person. You could give $10 a month. It's just all about starting the giving process. So, or you could give of your time and energy. So, Todd, how can they get involved in both of those things, and giving their time, giving their money? How does that work?
Yeah, so specific to the last well in Liberia, in our first project that we're doing here with this, reaching all of Liberia with water and the Christian message, we've got about 7-8 weeks here left to raise the funds to finish this project so that we can actually do the work in the field between now and December 31st. So the way people can get involved with that financially is to just go online to thelastwell.org, and I think Courtney's going to have that on the site here as well. But you can just go online and just click donate. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. You can give monthly, and what would happen then is, let's say you decided to give $10 a month or $50 a month or $5, whatever it is. You start to give monthly. Well, over the next couple months, those first 2 monthly gifts are going to go directly to Liberia. And then what would happen is those funds would continue toward our next project in the next countries that we're continuing to reach. So we're going to keep doing this and keep reaching people with clean water and the Christian message. But the Liberia side of it, if they're interested in trying to finish this first country, the next 60 days basically of their giving is the most significant for Liberia, and that's really what we're focused on. So they can give monthly, they can give one time. I tell people all the time, $4.58 will provide water for one person in Liberia. In addition to that, $3,000 will actually provide a well for an entire village. So there's an ability to. So we have people that will give, what is that? That's $250 a month for 12 months, right? There's a way to affect an entire village halfway around the world with the Christian message and clean water. So at any level, from $1 to $1 million or and up, right? I mean, there could be somebody in here right now that has a passion for the human trafficking issue and can give $1 million to Underground Railroad right now. And funny about that, though, Courtney, if you talk to them, they'd probably be able to give $1.5 million when it's all over with, because of the way you'd structure their finances, right?
Exactly.
So, I mean, there's always a win, no matter how we do this. And I think that's what's so exciting about this. So thelastwell.org, if they want to help with the last well, and I'm sure you'll give them information on the other two ministries you're so passionate about. And I would just say to anyone watching, Courtney has done her due diligence with us. I know she's done that with the other two organizations she raises awareness for and gives to. So if you trust Courtney, it's a great way to start. Just pick one of the organizations that Courtney believes in and partner with her in that process.
I love it. And, Todd, I thank you so much for coming on here. And anybody, just so, because I've got a lot of friends, I've got a lot of people on here that are influencers. And if you feel led to get Todd to share with your group, guys, I'm not doing anything here to make money. Like this is giving. Okay. This is part of what I do, is to create that awareness, because people like The Last Whale, people like Man of Relief, people like Operation Underground Railroad. I had no clue they even existed 2 years ago. I had no clue that there was nonprofits out there trying to change the world. And man, I'll tell you what, when you start becoming part of something bigger than yourself, not only does life change, but my children's lives have changed. What they are, it's not about, okay, well, here's our name brand stuff, because I went to Rodeo Drive on February 29th. It was my first time ever. Crazy story, but I went to Rodeo Drive with my daughter and I bought something name brand for the first time. I mean, I'm 38 years old and I bought something name brand. And for a little bit, for an hour, I was super excited. I bought some Versace sunglasses and a pocketbook. And you know what happened is none of that stuff actually makes you happy. Like for a minute, it was like, okay, I'm cool. That's great. But man, every day when I wake up, I know how many children we're feeding. I know how many families we provided water for. And I know that last month we were able to, it's 1,064. I looked it up yesterday. So 1,064 people is what we provided safe drinking water for. 5,700 people we have provided nutrition for in the month of April. And then we've also freed 6 children from sex trafficking.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's just fantastic.
And you know what's crazy? In order to do that, we freed up $250,000 a week for people in taxes because I have to make money in order to give money. So, I want to implore upon you, find something you're passionate about, give to that, whether that's The Last Whale, whether that's Man of Relief, whether that's Operation Underground Railroad. God will truly provide for you on a level that you never even thought possible and provide for you things that it's amazing, the dreams that have come true. And I think I'm going to end with this. I wake up every day of my entire life now, and it's like God has given me an idea for me to be able to share, to make money in order to provide more. And that's what I hope for you, that you start giving and it becomes such an addiction that you can't stop. And that your business skyrockets because you are continuously giving. And I think that's what we were put on this earth to do, is to continue to give back. So, Todd, I thank you so much. Do you have any last words? Because I love listening to Todd Phillips. I mean, I can tell that preacher is in him still, even to this day. So any last words you want to share with anyone?
Yeah. And I can be a lot longer winded than I have been today. I feel like I've been very careful. I would just go back to the idea of giving your time, talent, and treasure, right? If you have time to give right now during the COVID-19, the pandemic, if you want to go out and serve and offer your help in some way, do that. If you can give your talent, your passions, what it is that your experience and your background, your education affords you an opportunity to do well or better than others, give that talent away. And then your finances. One of the greatest ways you can show that you have a giving heart is through your finances, because it's the thing that we hold tightest to. I tell people all the time, hold your hand right now. Like if people are watching, they can hold their fist, hold it really tight for 1 minute, just 1 minute. And while I'm talking right now, just hold it really tight. I'm almost done, but it's less than a minute. Just hold it tight. Don't let go until I let you know. When people hold tight to their money, they're concentrating on it, focusing on it, worrying about it, and holding so tight, it's all they can think about. It takes over their lives, and money is one of those places where that happens. And I understand that we deal with a lot of challenges. We got to pay our bills. We go through financial challenges. I get all of that. But if you hold too tight, all your energy, all your joy is sapped by holding tightly. And just in the last 30 or 45 seconds, what I want you to do right now, if you've been holding your fist tight, just let go. Just let go. How does that feel? How does that feel? And imagine this. We do this with our finances. We hold so tightly and put so much emotional energy into that. And if we just let go, life gets big, it gets huge. It's like people are seeing a 3.5 by 5 inch black and white photo of life, and they're supposed to be seeing an IMAX view of life, and they're missing it because they're doing this with everything in their lives. So give.
I love it. I love it. Todd, I thank you so much. I appreciate all that you guys are doing with Last Will. I can't wait to go to Liberia and actually see what's going on there and the massive shift that we're going to have in every other country to come, and be able to utilize what you guys have done in the Last Will and take that to a whole nother level. So I'm super excited to be working with you guys.
Thanks, Courtney. You hung the moon and hung it well. I appreciate all the time you've given us.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. thelastwell.com. I have put it in the, yeah, I'm sorry, thelastwell.org. That's exactly right. I have posted it like 3 times in every single group. And please go give from your heart. And, whatever you can give, we would definitely appreciate it. And I thank you so much. Bye, guys.